Welcome to the Make It Personal podcast presented by Mutual of Omaha Advisors. Make it personal. It's your money. It's your plan. It's your future.
Do you ever wish that there was a cheat code for retirement planning? What's a cheat code? Generally speaking, it's a secret command or code that can be used in a video game or computer program to gain an advantage. While I'm not sure if cheat code was part of the vernacular back then, I do recall growing up that there were some codes that you could put in the original Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo to give yourself unlimited lives or to start at the beginning of the last world you had reached rather than going back to the very beginning at 1-1. There were also some different tricks in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out that allowed you to beat Bald Bull and ultimately the champ himself. As we tend to live in a society today that's largely focused on instant or immediate gratification or the urge to seek immediate pleasure or satisfaction over a future benefit, you may commonly hear this as keeping up with the Joneses. Trying to keep up with the Joneses can derail your financial goals. Imagine seeing an ad for a sleek new electric car while scrolling through Instagram, the same model you just saw your neighbor driving. Your competitiveness may tempt you to buy the expensive new car so that the Joneses don't get a leg up on you. You should remind yourself that the Joneses are often deep in debt, trying to convince themselves and others that buying more things will bring them happiness. While they may offer short-term excitement and satisfaction, material possessions rarely bring true fulfillment. Social media, while a powerful tool, can make our desire for all the cool new stuff even worse. It can lead us to endlessly comparing ourselves to people that we find on social media, including the Joneses. Okay, enough of telling you what you may not want to hear. So does a cheat code for retirement planning exist? The fact is that taxation and Social Security in the U.S. are complicated, and I personally think it's worthwhile to engage a professional to help you with your retirement planning. However, we can make some simplifying assumptions and use rules of thumb to get us started. That means we take risks that are implicit with those assumptions, which can cause our plan to fail. I'm going to take a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Mark Zagurski, and I'm the Director of Strategy and Communications for Mutual of Omaha Advisors, part of the Mutual of Omaha family of companies who for more than a century has been committed to listening to our customers and helping them through life's transitions by providing an array of insurance and financial products. Our mission is to help our customers protect what they care about and achieve their financial goals. For nearly 30 years, I've had the opportunity to see the outstanding work that our advisors do on behalf of our customers, and I represent a network of Mutual of Omaha Advisors nationwide. You may be listening right now because one of our advisors introduced you to this podcast. At the heart of it, their job is to help people accomplish their hopes and dreams. Despite any skills or knowledge that I've gained, I still encourage those I know and love to seek the advice of financial professionals. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Here's the bottom line. We could try to build out a cheat code for retirement planning if we simply weave together three primary simple rules of thumb. We'll call it 10-4-80. 10 as in saving 10% of your pre-retirement income each year towards retirement. 4 as in spending no more than 4% of your accumulated retirement savings each year in retirement. And 80, which represents having enough assets or income sources in retirement to cover 80% of your pre-retirement earnings. 10-4-80 may be able to give you a start on successful retirement plan depending on your circumstances. If you start young enough and avoid major stretches of unemployment or disability, don't experience a setback in your earnings or investments, have a relatively high income replacement ratio from your Social Security benefits, and inflation remains relatively low, this plan can be successful. If that was too many ifs for your comfort, then knowing that there are qualified advisors out there that can help you through the nuances of retirement planning, regardless of your starting point, should be reassuring to you. Retirement planning is a trade-off between your standard of living today and your standard of living in retirement. Save more now, and you improve the odds of a higher standard of living later. Save too much now, and you improve someone else's standard of living later. Instant or immediate gratification is a term that refers to the temptation and resulting tendency to forego a future benefit in order to obtain a less rewarding but more immediate benefit. While immediate gratification can provide temporary pleasure, it can also come at the expense of long-term goals, personal growth, and overall well-being. A good financial plan will help you strike the right balance. For purposes of today, I want to break down the components of 10-4-80. We will walk through each and address the potential pitfalls of relying too heavily on rules of thumb or cheat codes. Let's begin with 10. Some professionals tell us that in order to accomplish all our future financial goals, we need to be saving between 10% and 20% of our incomes. What percentage of your monthly income are you currently committed to saving to help you pursue your financial goals? Don't answer. Obviously, you can't answer, as this was a one-way conversation. A quick Google search about how much of my income should I save generates all sorts of interesting advice or rules of thumb. You'll find something called the 50-30-20 rule, which involves splitting your after-tax income into 3 categories. 50% goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, and 20% goes to savings. This was popularized by U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren in her 2006 book, All Your Worth, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan. You'll also find the 80-20 rule, which intends to simplify the 50-30-20 into just 2 categories. I even found mention of a 50-15-5 rule on Fidelity.com. I'm not a mathematician, but that one doesn't quite seem to add up. Pun intended. Saving 10 to 20% of your income to accomplish your future goals is a fairly accepted rule of thumb. While I'm not certain of its origin, I'm going to take us to a different book. This book was originally published nearly 100 years ago in 1926. It's a book titled The Richest Man in Babylon by George Samuel Clayson. In this classic, Clayson shares 7 simple rules of money. Number 1, start thy purse to fattening, save money. Number 2, control thy expenditures, don't spend more than you need. Number 3, make thy gold multiply, invest wisely. 4, guard thy treasures from loss, avoid investments that sound too good to be true. 5, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment, own your home. 6, ensure a future income, protect yourself with life insurance. And 7, improve thy ability to earn, strive to become wiser and more knowledgeable. The third chapter, titled 7 Cures for a Fattening Lean Purse, includes, for each 10 coins, input said purse to spend but 9. Very simply stated, save at least 10% of everything you earn. You may be investing in a 401k savings plan through your employer. Does this count towards the 10 to 20%? Absolutely. You may be actively contributing monthly to a Roth IRA. Does this count to the 10 to 20%? Yes. You're actively funding permanent life insurance policies. You've got a need for death benefit protection, but also like the tax-advantaged accumulation of cash value. Does this count towards the 10 to 20%? You bet. Saving 10% of your income may be a good starting point. A 10% savings rate, if you start early enough, let's say in your mid-20s, can help reduce the risk of running out of money in retirement. However, if you start saving later, you'll likely need to save more than 10% to retire comfortably. The amount or percentage you need to save in retirement or for retirement depends on your individual circumstances and requires more personalized planning. Okay, shall we move on to 4 in our 10-4-80 cheat code? 4, as in withdraw no more than 4% from your retirement assets each year. This is commonly known as the 4% rule. The 4% rule can be traced back to an article written in the Journal of Financial Planning that was penned by William Bengen, published in October of 1996. According to Wikipedia, William P. Bengen is a retired financial advisor who first articulated the 4% withdrawal rate, aka 4% rule, as a rule of thumb for withdrawal rates from retirement savings. In the article, Bengen states that assuming a minimum requirement of 30 years of portfolio longevity, a first-year withdrawal of 4%, followed by inflation-adjusted withdrawals in subsequent years, should be safe. Simple enough? Sure, but as with many things, it can get much more complicated. Morningstar released a study about withdrawal rates in retirement And it goes on to explore 6 different retirement strategies in over 30 pages, including the 4% rule. What the what? 6 different strategies, you say? Heck, you might still be wrapping your mind around what the 4% rule actually means. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of that, except to let you know what they had to say about the 4% rule. From the author of the Morningstar study, Amy Arnott, I quote, "I estimate that retirees drawing down income from an investment portfolio can now afford to withdraw as much as 4% as an initial spending rate, assuming a 90% probability of still having funds remaining after a 30-year time horizon. The 4% rule may finally hold true as a safe starting withdrawal rate when considering a 30-year time horizon." Basically, a vote from Morningstar in the favor of the validity of the 4% rule, and even a nod, if you dig into the article, of possibly being able to take out more than 4% with a high probability of still having funds remaining after 30 years. What doesn't the 4% rule take into account? There are a number of things, including inflation, where you live, stock market fluctuations, or sequential returns, which was a topic of one of our earlier podcasts, health and medical expenses, taxes and longevity, just to name a few. What is the right withdrawal strategy? While how you will ultimately withdraw money most effectively is an important topic, rest assured that no perfect withdrawal strategy exists. The name of the game is to prevent outliving your savings, the savings that you will have worked to accumulate over potential decades of work. What do you need to be considering? Once you stop working and go into distribution phase, the objective becomes spending money in a way that aligns with your goals that are realistic. Let's take a look at a simple example. Let's say you have $1 million saved and you want to start spending it down once you reach age 65. You begin withdrawing $40,000 a year or 4% annually out of $1 million portfolio. We assume for 5% rate of return in the example, so if you think about it, this money would arguably last indefinitely as we're assuming a fixed rate of return with no fluctuation. Unless we're actually locked into a fixed rate of some return, this assumption is inherently flawed. I digress and foreshadow a topic for another day, actual versus average returns. But let's stick with this same example and add in a 4% inflation to our annual withdrawal to allow for adjustments in cost of living each year. All of a sudden, this $1 million portfolio is exhausted in 28 years or by age 95. While 95 may seem like a long time, facing the risk of being alive at age 95 and being out of money doesn't sound like a lot of fun. All right, on to the final part of our retirement planning cheat code, the 80 from 10-4-80. And that is having a plan in place or assets accumulated to replace 80% of our pre-retirement spending. What percent of your current income will you need in retirement? It depends. In general, agreement is that a good rule of thumb for estimating your future spending is to multiply your current income by 70 to 80%. If that's less than the monthly amount your retirement funds have been forecast to produce, that's a good sign, but you need to take this further than that. While the 80% rule is a good starting point, the actual percentage can vary considerably depending on individual circumstances. The rule of thumb is based on the fact that some major expenses drop after you retire, like commuting and retirement plan contributions, and of course the other expenses may go up, such as vacation travel and healthcare. Broadly speaking, most people spend less in retirement. This is largely based on the fact that some of your income during the working years went towards saving for retirement, such as funding your 401k, which isn't necessary anymore. Your taxes may also be lower, especially payroll taxes, but possibly income taxes as well. What percent of pre-retirement income do most retirees actually spend during retirement? Another study from Morningstar finds that the actual replacement rate is likely to vary considerably by retiree household, from under 54% to over 87%. We note that retiree expenditures do not on average increase each year by inflation or some otherwise static percentage. The actual spending curve of a retiree household varies by total consumption and funding level. What can we learn from all of this? Is there a cheat code to retirement planning? As the GOAT Michael Jordan is quoted as saying, "If you do the work, you get rewarded. There are no shortcuts in life." I'm sure many others have said similar things over time, simply pointing to the fact that there are no shortcuts to success. That doesn't stop us from looking for them. 10-4-80. 10, the rule, save 10% of your income each year to fund the income you'll need in retirement. The reality, the amount you need to save will depend on many things, largely how many years you have to save towards your retirement goal. 4, the rule, a balanced portfolio will allow you to withdraw 4% annually with a high probability that you won't run out of money before 30 years of retirement. The reality, many people underestimate the money they'll need to enjoy a comfortable retirement, often overlooking that today's retirement can last 30 years or more. 80, the rule, approximate your retirement income need at 80% of your pre-retirement income because certain types of expenses go down when you retire. The reality, retirement spending can be very dynamic. Many people increase their spending in the early years, and as people get older, they usually cut back. You simply can't assume how your lifestyle will or will not change. 10-4-80, inherently flawed, modestly useful. Though fun when I think of 10-4-80 as in October 4th, 1980. I was in Mrs. Dice's first grade class, just getting warmed up on learning and memorizing and dominating my states and capital. What's the real cheat code to retirement planning? Find yourself a competent financial advisor who you can trust. Let's be real. Retirement planning is complicated. Sure, you can pick up some pointers and even be entertained by relying on vloggers and so-called financial celebrities online. It's possible to go the DIY route, but you'll likely spend a significant amount of time and possibly money to learn everything you need to know. Even then, you still won't know what you don't know, and that creates risks. At Mutual of Omaha Advisors, we understand that personal finance is personal and financial well-being is essential to achieving your life's goals. Our vision is for every customer to be able to imagine, plan, and secure their financial future. Make it personal. It's your money, it's your plan, it's your future.
This podcast is for educational purposes only and may include references to concepts that have legal and/or tax implications. Mutual of Omaha Investor Services, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult with the appropriate professional regarding your personal situation prior to making any financial decisions. Strategies discussed may not be suitable for everyone. Securities and advisory services offered through Mutual of Omaha Investor Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Mutual of Omaha Advisors is a division of Mutual of Omaha Insurance Company.